What is going on, my fellow Jedi and Padawans? Welcome back to another Jedi gaming video. Thank you guys so much for coming back to the channel, and if you guys are new, welcome. Today we're going to cover our last Solstice weapon for y'all with the crowning dialogue right here with that nice Strand rocket from the Solstice event. Very good little precision frame, locks onto targets when aimed, so not the best damage wise, if you will, but very good option since we don't have too many Strand rockets as well. So starting us out, we're going to go over origin traits, dream work, as we have on all of these Solstice weapons. Once per reload, assist or assisted final blow partially refills the weapon from the reserves and increases the reload speed for a short duration. Definitely a very good perk for the PvE realm. Definitely using it a bunch on a lot of these weapons, but they do have a second option as well. In Hakke breach armaments, this weapon deals increased damage against vehicles and constructs. Constructs includes barriers, turrets, stasis crystals, and other objects created in the field, so not too crazy of a thing. Vehicles can work on something like those shriekers. They actually get coded as vehicles, but we get that stasis crystal 45% damage increase to that, so nothing too crazy about it. Like I said, I like dream work a little bit better, but Hakke, not a bad option either. Now PvE realm, like I said, not going to be the highest possible damage rocket that we have out there, but we got good options to make it super juicy, especially since it is one of our only Strand. We're going to go with reload as our masterwork, as well as counter mass for our launch barrel right here. Gives us stability, handling, and recoil directions. So with this, we have a pretty good little stat distribution of about 50 or 60 in everything that we have with velocity, stability, and handling. Blast radius, we want to keep it at 30 like it is, so it has the best damage. Lower the blast radius, higher damage on a single target, so definitely what I'm looking for, especially since this is a precision frame already. Magazine for PvE realm would definitely go with impact casing. Gives us that damage increase based on our direct hits, plus we get a little bit of stability as well, so definitely what I would go with on this, especially since it is the precision frame. Those targets are going to lock on and track, so a lot easier to get this to track sometimes and proc rather than some of the ones that the rockets go and then the enemy just teleports out of the way. Third column got some good options here. We got reconstruction, probably be my #1 choice. Rapidly reloads itself over time, so we're going to get 2 in the magazine for this boy, and then with that dream work, sometimes we're going to get an extra one to be in our magazine already, so definitely like the reconstruction on this perk. Second option is auto loading holster, kind of a similar thing to reconstruction, but we're not going to get 2 in the magazine, so this would be used if you're using something like Wither Horde, something like that, if you will. Throw your Wither Horde, throw your rocket, let it reload itself, kind of just rinse and repeat all at the same time, so auto loading, definitely a good perk. Impulse amplifier is our last option in the third column right here. Massively increases projectile velocity and gives us that reload speed that we are looking for. Gives us a 60 in reload speed with our other stats that we have on it, so it's plus 20 to that reload speed, if you will, just perk wise. So love impulse amplifier, but reconstruction definitely my #1 choice. Fourth column, bait and switch is my #1 option for that DPS, dealing damage with all equipped weapons within a short period of time. Gives us that damage boost. Definitely feels good with that reconstruction, so we can throw 2 out at once. The first one's not going to have bait and switch to proc, but the second one will. Then we can just reload it like normal and get that bait and switch to proc, but definitely one of the best PvE perks. Second option is a bipod. I know a lot of people do like this, but increase rocket ammo and reserves, but reduces damage, blast radius, and reload speed. So that reduced damage does get me sometimes, but since this one isn't juicing damage anyways, definitely a good option just so we can have a bunch of ammo in the reserves. So I like bait and switch more, but bipod definitely a second choice. Next 2 options right here are definitely on the ad clear side of things. We got cluster bombs. A rocket spawns clusters at the detonation spot, so not too shabby with clearing out those little bit of ads around the area. It's about 8 bombs when it hits, so definitely a good little additional damage as well. That other option I was talking about is chain reaction. When we get those defeats, we're going to get a nice big Strand elemental explosions, so just kind of like cluster bomb, but instead of little clusters, it's just going to be a strand explosion that happens. So kind of do the same thing. Bipod bait and switch are for DPS, chain reaction cluster bomb more for the ad clear side of things, but definitely up to you and your gameplay style. I think I would personally give this thing about a 4.2 out of 5. Pretty good weapon for the PvE realm and doing that damage with tracking, with reconstruction, as well as bait and switch. But we do got the better rockets for sure that do way more damage because of their frames and stuff like that. So we'll go with this for sure at that like 4.2 range. Now, when we move on to PvP, we're building this thing out for that blast radius for sure, because we're not hitting single targets. We're trying to get as big of an area of effect that we possibly can. So we're going with volatile launch as our barrel right here. Gives us plus 15 to that blast radius. We do lose a little bit in handling and velocity, but 99% of the time we're only going to get one shot off anyways, since that's usually what we get in a rocket, unless we're hoarding or cheating, which we do not do here on this channel. But definitely like that blast radius being as high as possible. Now I went with black powder right here. Gives us plus 5 to that blast radius, minus 10 to stability. Nothing else in this category gives us a positive for blast radius, so I really do like this option. You could go with those high velocity rounds, if you will, so you can get that velocity to increase, but I'm building this out for blast radius, like I said, having it at 60. Third comm, I would go with two different options. First one is impulse amplifier. Gives us that velocity and reload speed. Nothing else really in this category has given us too much crazy things inside of the PvP realm for sure. So impulse would probably be my #1 choice. Hatchling is our last option right here. Those final blows have a chance of creating a threadling, especially in the Crucible. You're getting a couple defeats with this rocket since we have a high blast radius and you're not trying to waste it on a single person. Hatchling can get procced to get a little extra defeats on enemies, etc. Someone that just got touched by the very tip of the rocket did half of their health. That little threadling will come out and finish it off for you. Definitely what I would go with as my second choice, but impulse is my #1. Fourth column right here, got two different options. Chain reaction is our first one. Each final blow with the weapon creates an elemental damage explosion, so we're getting that nice big old juice of the strand explosion on those defeats. Definitely good, like I said, because in the Crucible a lot of people are standing next to each other depending on the game mode for sure, but a lot of people seem to just be hugging each other doing team shots, so getting that chain reaction to wipe out a whole squad feels super crispy. The option right here is cluster bomb. I think this would be my #1 choice. We get those little bombs to explode and detonate upon the rocket actually exploding. PvP, pretty solid little thing since there is 8 of them going around. Really expands that blast radius, so this would be my #1 choice. But in Crucible, I personally like the LMGs or the grenade launchers a little bit more, so I think I would give this thing about a 4.0, maybe a little bit lower, a 3.8 out of 5 for the Crucible. Got some pretty good options just in general for rockets for the Crucible, but like I said, I would rather have something like an LMG or a grenade launcher where the potential to wipe out way more Guardians is definitely higher. So overall, very good weapon. Definitely is my least favorite of the Solstice weapons that we have. I do like everything else with something new, Compass Rose and that Fortunate Star. So definitely either way, get to grinding out all of these. Are very good options for the sandbox that we have currently. Would grind out those bonfire bashes to get them. Very easy, can get them done in about 8-9 minutes and you're getting about 4 or 5 drops depending on how many ignitions you get on that bonfire. So thank you again for coming back to the channel. Means a lot to me, helps me out as well if you would like and subscribe to the channel, as well as slap that bell so you don't miss out on any of this wonderful content right here, as well as just it helps out the community since Destiny seems to be in a little bit of lull. I want to bring back that fun and everything like that. So appreciate you guys. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.